Good night, Good night, everybody. Oh well, gee, we ended the
Good
stream
night.
before I even started it. Okay, well, I guess that was it. That was the shortest one ever. I don't really have anything else to add. I guess let's make sure we're streaming. Um, well, anyway, good evening, everybody. It's Monday night at 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. It's time for your Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing fine. Frustrated by Outer Worlds.
I
I bought
see.
it on sale for it was super cheap. Like the game plus all the DLC was like $30. I'm like, all right. Everybody talks about how great this is. I'm gonna give it a go. And
Mm,
I'm like 3 hours in, and I'm like, oh right, now I remember why I hate these games.
yeah. Well, we could definitely get into that tonight. I mean, I mean, just the way we started, and then with your rant meter on high, it
Oh,
sounds like.
it's at 11. It's at
Yeah.
11, James.
So I'm gonna add to it by throwing us into the fire. I'm on my iPad Pro tonight to do
All
some
right.
3D.
Oh.
Um, to kind of play around in 3D a little bit tonight because last week I got to a point where I wanted to rotate Calamity's head
Mm-hmm.
towards camera a little bit, right? And you and I were talking about it, and you were saying like how it's so weird to see in characters when they rotate 3D how off-putting it is because they're so you see them a certain way. Yeah, and I totally get that too, especially with 2D animation. But what I was going to do tonight was jump on my iPad, use this app called Nomad Sculpt, and then sculpt Calamity's head in
Mm-hmm.
three dimensions, and just kind of rotate it around and look at it tonight a little bit while we rant about this game called Outer Worlds, and I can talk to you about some games I played as well. And for all I know, I don't, I'm not a pro with Nomad Sculpt, so there's all kinds of. We may be hardwired for a crash tonight
All
of
right.
some
Well,
sort. So
people love slow motion train wrecks, so let's see if
yeah,
we're gonna give them one.
so I'll go to share screen here. Where is it? Here, there's
Oh,
share.
I forgot to press the button. One moment, please. All
It's
right.
okay because I'm trying to even look for the button on my iPad here. I
Now
think I
you're
found it.
now you're good to go.
Share screen.
Um,
Start broadcast. And I'm assuming you can see this.
I sure can.
Okay, great. And then I will go into Nomad Scope. There we are. All right. And now, so give me a perspective, your point of view. So right now I see you on my screen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, do you see yourself twice on your side of the world?
I moved the PIP, the Zoom PIP over to another monitor,
Okay,
so people watching the stream are only seeing one version of me. I
great. Because I would
am seeing two versions of me, which uh, no one needs that. So,
as long so I guess for me like it's fun because I like talking to you while I'm working, so like I have you here, as I move you around,
mm-hmm.
woo, but I could tuck you over there, but I mean, or I could leave you out here.
I leave it to your discretion.
All right, you're gonna hang out with me down here in the
All
corner
right,
here for a little
sounds
bit then,
good.
or up here, whatever. I'll just figure something out. Okay, but anyways, yeah, so here we have Calamity Jane up here. I have the reference image good to go up in the upper left. And yeah, I'm gonna start kind of playing around with some sculpting tonight and see if I can kind of make her head in 3D.
Okay.
So meanwhile, you were playing Outer Worlds,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're so and this kind of yeah, I get sense the volcano was simmering for Eric tonight about Outer Worlds because last week I thought you were kind of talking about how much you were enjoying the game, but I guess you're really into it for like 3 hours so far.
So I wasn't like loving it. I mean, it wasn't blowing my
Okay.
mind, but I mean, I was
Uh,
I was enjoying it okay. It falls into the same pitfalls that all of these games fall into because they're open world and you can go anywhere you want whenever. It's really difficult to balance it.
mhm.
And at this point, I've been playing it for 3 hours and I've died like 10 times. Now, keep in mind, I'm playing on the second lowest difficulty level, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
I could go down to very easy, I guess, at this point. Which I might do actually just to get past this one section. But also, I'm not bad at video games. And
No.
I just don't think I should have died 10 times in the first 3 hours. And I think what it boils down to is that I'm not playing it correctly. This is a thing that happens sometimes is when you make a video game, when designers are making a video game, they get so used to the mechanics because they play with them for so long that they forget that, people have to learn about them. And I know that the general cultural consensus is get good loser, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not my style. I mean, I want to have an opportunity to feel powerful early on, get the hang of, um, uh, uh, get my sea legs kind of, right, and then you can start slowly taking me to task for being bad at the game. But right out of the gate, like, I just feel completely powerless, completely underwater, and I get the instincts to do that to a certain extent, but I don't know. It's frustrating, and I'm getting to the point where I'm just going to go, well, that was $30 wasted. I mean, it's just, I've got the new Ninja Turtles brawler coming out next week, or yeah, and then
Is it already out? That's the 4-player co-op one, right? You can play it with your friends and everything.
yeah, and it's got April O'Neil and Splinter
Yeah,
and Casey Jones as playable characters.
yeah, it
That
looks
comes out.
fun.
Yeah, it looks great. It comes out next week.
Okay.
So that's on the horizon, and then I got Monster Hunter Sunbreak on the 30th, and I'm going, I don't need this game, right? So I'm
Yeah.
I'm getting to them. I'm getting to the sunk cost fallacy, where it's just like, you know what, me, I don't prescribe to the sunk cost fallacy. Like,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
it's $30 wasted. It happens. Um,
So you're at that point where you might be hitting the eject button pretty soon.
yeah, I'm getting pretty close to it.
Huh.
If I can't feel like I'm gaining some traction, I don't understand why I would play a video game where I feel like I'm spinning my wheels, right?
Hmm.
I'm too old at this point to constantly have to figure out what a designer in, Orange County, California is thinking. I
Hmm.
just, you need to do a better job, game designer, of easing me into this mechanic and getting me to a place where I feel competent enough that you can then pull the carpet out underneath me. I'm still learning the mechanics. I mean, one of the most frustrating things to me is there's this, like, slow mo time thing, right?
Hmm.
And if you've played Fallout 3 at all, it's kind of vaguely like that. In Fallout 3, you would press a button and it would actually freeze time. Fallout
Okay.
3 and 4 and New Vegas. And then you could select individual body parts and target those body parts, right?
Okay.
Everybody hated it because it was sort of this middle ground between role playing and first person shooter. I liked it, but I'm not, whatever. I'm into making things easier. But anyway, I guess it's kind of like that. You press a button, and then instead of everything freezing, time just slows down.
Hmm.
And as long as you don't move around, as long as you're just looking around, you can look at all the enemies in front of you, and you can get what their name is, how much HP they have, what their armor is. And I don't
Hmm.
really see what the point of it is because when you start shooting them, they have a health bar anyway. So me knowing what their max HP is it literally does not assist me at all.
There's no point.
There's
Yeah.
literally no point to it. I've tried to use it, and I'm like, well, I don't see what this is buying me, right?
Yeah.
But then the problem is like, okay, well, maybe it's like the first person shooter Fear, right? Where you get an advantage by going into slow motion mode. You can navigate faster than your enemy can. No, you move in slow motion too while you're in slow motion mode. So literally, all that's happened is you're prolonging the same combat encounter by just slowing everything down, right?
Hmm.
You don't fire any faster, you don't move any faster, you don't reload any faster, nothing. And what's more, and it seems pretty clearly that at least early on, it's not really a viable combat utility because the second you start moving or firing your gun, it burns through the meters so fast that it's like you didn't even turn it on in the first place, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I don't understand what the point of it is, and they don't do a good job of explaining. There's no tutorial, there's no opportunity, there's no, like, room where you can experiment with it safely. They just say, okay, here's this ability, right? There's like
Hmm.
one encounter very early in the game with these enemies that are incredibly weak, and they're dead before you really have got an opportunity to understand what it is that you're doing with this thing, right? And they're like, cool, now you know everything about it, have fun. And it's not unique to this game. All of the other games of this kind of it's an American style first person RPG, right? But
Hmm.
mediocre first person shooter with heavy RPG elements is what it really is. Um, but the difference is that back in the day when Skyrim was out and Fallout 3 and whatnot, I was younger and I was a lot more willing to tolerate things like that.
Sure. Yeah.
But now I'm not. I don't have the patience to figure out what the designer is trying to teach me if they're doing a bad job of teaching. I don't have the patience to trial and error my way through it either, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm going to put it down to the easiest difficulty level and try again and see if I can get any headway. But if I can't start feeling like I'm getting some traction on progress on this game, I'm pulling the ripcord on it. I just don't. I've got too many other things to do in my life, other than bashing my head against a wall about a video game that I don't understand how to play. I got other things
Hmm.
to do.
Hmm.
So yeah, and that's the other thing too. The purple slow time meter. So different ammo affects different enemies in different ways. So light ammo is good for one thing. Heavy ammo is good for another thing. Energy cells are good for another thing. Yada yada yada. And it's like I don't. The meter doesn't tell you that, and maybe you unlock the ability to expand what that meter tells you later on in the game, but that doesn't help me now, early in the game. It's
Hmm.
just this guessing game early on, and by the time I presumably get the ability to expand what that meter is telling me, it won't matter anymore because I'll be powerful enough to deal with it, right?
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so it's like it doesn't tell you the first time you encounter robots, it tells you different types of ammo are effective against different types of enemy. Pay attention to how much damage that you're doing to know whether or not the ammo is effective. I'm like, well, that just is bad design. That's just trial and error. That's literally you just told me that the way to figure this out is trial and error. Like, and it's just some pop up, this modal pop up that first time you're in a combat encounter with robots, and you're supposed to like stop what you're doing to read this message that just says trial and error the types of ammo that you can use to figure
Hmm.
out what's the most effective. And you just sit there going, who is designing this game, right?
So, what's the reception on this game? Like, how are
People love
people?
it.
Yeah, that's what's so weird. Like, I've heard things about this game. Like, I thought you were kind of caught up in the pop culture uh, popularity for this game. Like, I've heard it talked about like at work and stuff like that. People are playing,
I mean,
and
last
they're
E3 that
enjoying it.
even had like everybody had it was their Outer Worlds 2 was the favorite trailer, even though I thought it was eye rolling. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, everybody seems to really dig Outer Worlds. And I'm like, oh wow, people really like this. I have fond memories of Fallout 3 up into the point where it corrupted all of my save files because of a catastrophic bug on the Xbox 360 version.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where I just got bored in Skyrim. And I hadn't played one of those types of RPGs in a while, so I thought, oh, I'll give it a try, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
on sale with all the DLC, why not? So
Mm-hmm.
I did it, and I'm like, I think I'm just too old. I mean, I think that's what it boils down to. I don't have the patience to trial and error my way through this stuff anymore.
But you know what? That I think that brings up another interesting point too. Is I think as gamers like you and I, we get older. I mean, that's kind of I wonder if that's a dilemma for designers too to think about that because now we have gamers that have played everything from the dawn of time, meaning Pac-Man and Space Invaders and the arcades, and now we're getting older and we're playing games. And we don't want to spend time playing open world forever games that take way too long. I mean, I'm like that myself. Like I don't. I feel like my time's a little bit more you know scarce, so where I can't just time sync into a game. This is the guy that's just double speaking because I just got done playing Elden Ring, but um, those type of games are far and few between for me now. Like I just don't want to play them as much because there's a lot more. I'd rather just play like a small game if I can these days.
Sure.
So unless it's like getting rave reviews by people, I'm not going to play it. So Outer Worlds, like I was actually kind of tempted to pick it up because people have been talking about it, like including yourself. But now, based on what you're telling me tonight, no, I don't know if I'm going to pick it up anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could like lend you my downloaded
Yeah.
copy of the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the best example. My tolerance for games is very low. I do love a big sprawling 100-hour adventure, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 when it comes out at the end of July. But it all has to do with like keeping my interest and keeping the frustration level within a manageable uh, um, level, for lack of a better word. Repeat that word again.
Yeah.
And right now, at least, Outer Worlds has completely failed at that, right? Like, again, second lowest difficulty level, because I don't do a challenge. I just immediately bump that thing down, right? And I'm going to bump it down to the lowest difficulty level next time I turn it on. And played it for 3 hours and died 10 times at the second lowest difficulty level, right? Either the game is poorly designed. Well, it is. Either it's too hard, or they did such a bad job of teaching me how to succeed and survive in the early game that I'm not surviving, pure and simple, right? So and I'm sure that once I'm like level 5 or level 6 and I've unlocked a bunch of perks and I've got a bunch of skill points that I can allocate, it'll get easier and easier and easier. I mean, that's the other thing about these games, is that it's got this irritating reverse difficulty curve where the game is very hard at the very beginning and then it just keeps getting easier and easier as you continue to level up, but then the game world doesn't level up at the rate that you do, right? I mean, this is the challenge with these types of open world RPGs, in that because you level up and because you define where you go, the game oftentimes just can't keep up with your leveling at beyond a certain point, So, I mean, at least that's been my experience. A game like Breath of the Wild doesn't suffer from this because there isn't like a true leveling system in Breath of the Wild, right? You get more heart containers and more stamina, but the way you sort of level up is by killing enemies over and over again, and then you get more and more powerful weapons, more and more powerful armor, and then every blood moon the enemies respawn, and then they're more difficult that way. So there's an implicit leveling system, but it's a lot more organic to the play cycle rather than sort of this highly quantized, you are now level 3 and you get X number of skill points and yada yada yada. So anyway, there you go. Rant over. I got it out of my system.
Well,
and that was a good one. That was almost 20 minutes. That was almost a 20-minute rant.
It is open world, so that's the whole point. Is if you're gonna play an open world, it's gonna take open world game. It's gonna take forever. If you're gonna rant about it, it deserves to be ranted at. Ranted.
And that was 20 minutes on 3 hours of a game. By the way.
Yeah. I don't. Meanwhile, I mean, I don't know what to really say about a lot of these issues I have with open world games. I'm pretty much in the same. Yeah, I pretty much am nodding my head a lot over here on my side. But I mean, that's why I've been kind of trying to chase after like shorter games. So for me, and here's something. Now I'm gonna get you in a good mood. But I started playing a game called A Short Hike, and this game's really charming. It's really cute, super fun and casual. You just kind of pick it up and play it whenever you want, type of thing. To me, what's ironic, what's funny is I was playing, I was like, I got to talk to everybody about this game, talk to Eric about picking this game up, but nope, you've already beat the game.
I've already played through it, did all the stuff.
You've already played it to death.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
I mean, I know what I like, when I see it's like, well, this one I know I'll enjoy, so.
Yeah, and that game is great. I highly recommend it for any of the 10s to 20s of viewers that are watching. Short Hike is a short game. Yeah. It is cute. It's fun.
Yeah, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It knows what it is. It has a very, very focused core loop. It doesn't add in a ton of it doesn't add in a ton of extraneous mechanics that don't actually assist anything, right? Um,
Yeah.
like, I mean, the classic example of this was like, what? Fallout 4, where
Uh-huh.
they actually have an entire, you can build a town. You can construct a town. You build all four walls and put the roof on the building, and you can design, battlements and farms. And I mean, it's like a whole farming simulator in the middle.
What?
Yeah, it's absolute insanity. It's the classic AAA bloat, right?
Uh-huh.
Where they have all of these features that are not a part of the core loop, and all it ends up doing is overcomplicating the experience and detracting away from what the core experience should be, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I remember playing Fallout 4 for a bit and going, no. Because because they're trying to encourage you to use these mechanics, there's always at least one story mission that forces you
Yeah.
to do these extraneous bullshit things, excuse me,
Uh-huh.
that don't actually enhance the core experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that was the classic. I mean, I did get bored with Skyrim, and I played Fallout 3 until my save files got corrupted. But those games I appreciated because at the very least the core mechanic was very clear. There wasn't a ton of just here's a farming simulator in the middle of your first-person RPG shooter game. I mean, it was like, what? So. But yeah, anyway, short hike. That was a random aside to continue my rant, to squeeze a little bit more blood out of that
Yeah,
rock.
you're getting more juice out of that. Yeah.
But no, short hike is a really
trying to cheer you up with a good game.
Yeah, no, and it just mires me back into my... Yeah.
You refuse to. You're just hanging on to the...
Yeah.
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 But short hike was good.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun.
I would like the reason why I thought it made me think about... It reminded me of you because you were really into Animal Crossing, and kind of has the same kind of...
Just play at your own vibe, play at your own pace,
yeah,
stress, just
yeah.
Just enjoy the vibe of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but a really good game. I'm still playing it. I haven't really, I played it here in little bits and pieces, and it's been a blast to play. There's nothing negative I can really say about it. I think it's a really good game, and I think it's on sale at the eShop for like less than $5 right now. So
yeah,
for less than a cup of coffee, you can get a pretty decent game.
Yeah, and I think I got through the whole thing in, I don't know, like 5 hours at most. Really, just to really, really, to get everything out of it, it takes about 5 hours to get through the whole thing, every single thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
I mean, I think you can beat it faster than that. I mean, you can beat it really quick, but if you allow yourself to just sort of get lost and go on little tangents and go, "Ooh, I wonder what this little area is," right?
Mm-hmm.
You can, obviously there's a certain amount of, you have to level up your glide ability to a certain point to get above the next level. And actually they do, speaking of game balance, the team that did this, or if it's one guy, I don't know, it's hard to tell with these garage games, did a really good job of balancing the rate at which you increase your glide ability and organically gating your ability to progress through the game until you do that upgrade, right?
Uh-huh.
For the most part, as long as you are paying attention, when you get to the next sort of, you need to have this much glide ability to make it to the next level, you're not that far off, right? And so it's kind of fun to backtrack a little bit and explore a little bit more. It's not such a, it's not a huge waste of time. I never found myself getting to a point going, oh, I got to go all the way back down the mountain and scour the environment for more upgrades, right? I was always right around where the game wanted me to be by the time I got to that next sort of checkpoint. And that I thought was really cool. I thought they did a good job of finding that sort of organic balance in the environment.
It's good. Yeah, so far that's kind of, like I said, my initial impressions, that's kind of like what I find with the game too, is it feels natural, like how you actually upgrade or just kind of do stuff. It's been a lot of fun. Just to kind of explore, and then you're naturally getting better at the game as you explore. It's just, it's a really solid really solid game. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then let's see. That's I think so. I think I told you I just dusted off Bayonetta again and beat it, and that's another great game. And it's not that long. It's kind of pretty linear. It's just standard kind of third person well, not platform. I don't know what would you call it, action platformer kind of game.
It's not really a
Uh,
platformer. I just say it's like a modern day brawler, right? I mean, it's an
yeah,
extension.
yeah,
I
that
mean,
sounds better.
kind of bringing it full circle back to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that comes out next week.
Hmm.
That's a retro game, right? But I mean, I think that Bayonetta and Devil May Cry and God Hand and God of War and all of those sort of fast-paced, combo-based action games all owe their roots to those types of side-scrolling beat 'em ups. Final Fight, Turtles, X-Men, Simpsons, and the list goes on and on, right?
Well, I mean, to me, the first one. Well, I don't know if it's the first one. We'll see. There was Vigilante, Double
Vigilante,
Dragon.
yeah, absolutely. You go even farther back. I'm going. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not going nearly as far back as you are, but yeah, I mean, if you really want to go, you go all the way back to Kung Fu, right?
yeah,
Back
yeah.
on
That's
the
a good one
NES.
too.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's sort of, you can trace that lineage pretty easily if you want to, from those very very early days of action brawlers up to Bayonetta. But
yeah,
I think Bayonetta with some balance changes would make an amazing arcade game.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. You mean back in the day? Yeah, it would be. It would be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I still haven't played Bayonetta 2 yet. But you were saying that Bayonetta 2 is even better naturally. Most sequels tend to be better for games, right? For the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Bayonetta 2 is definitely better than the first one. I
Hmm.
really, really, really enjoyed Bayonetta 2.
Yeah. So I'll be dusting that one off too. But let's see, what am I playing right now? Then I'm playing Short Hike, but again, that's more casual. And then wrapping up Bayonetta, and then yeah, it's gonna be Bayonetta 2 more than likely. I'm trying to think what else I did install on my Switch. That was pretty decent. Yeah, that's all I got right now. I'm still sitting on Breath of the Wild, but for many of the same reasons you're talking about with open world, I can't find myself getting back into that game. It just feels like it's gonna be a chore.
Just go to Zora's Domain first. I'm sure that there was some piece of dialogue that I missed that told me to go there first, but I don't even remember. I think I went to Gerudo Desert first, which is like
Oh,
not where you're
geez.
supposed to go. And so the game was crazy difficult. And then by the time there had only been like one or so blood moons by the time I finally found my way to Zora's Domain, and it was just ridiculously trivially easy to get through. And I'm like, oh, this is where I was supposed to go first. And so they say that it's an open world, and it is, but games are about progression. They are just like any story, have a beginning, middle, and end. And just because you can go anywhere you want right at the beginning doesn't mean that the designers don't want you to go in a specific order, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And so it's a little bit frustrating because yes, technically it is an open world, but it's not like really that open, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, your mileage may vary, and as long as you follow the checkpoints in games like Outer Worlds um, and Xenoblade Chronicles, and to a lesser extent Breath of the Wild, then you generally speaking know what path you're supposed to follow. But it's
Hmm.
not, open world games, have different problems than a more traditional RPG like Final Fantasy VII or Pokemon or Chrono Trigger, and most people aren't really doing modern day RPG or classic turn-based RPGs anymore. Octopath Traveler was really the last one I can think of.
Was there another game called? Was there another RPG called Triangle Strategy or something like that?
That's coming out. That's not out yet, or maybe it is out. I think it is out, but yeah, it's the
Okay,
same graphics engine as Octopath Traveler, but it's a
okay,
grid-based, turn-based strategy game in the vein
okay.
of Tactics Ogre or Final Fantasy Tactics or any number of these other ones. I mean, Mario versus Rabbids, which is a game we've spent a great deal of time talking about, is also a grid-based, turn-based strategy game. So
Oh, okay. Well, that one I may have to may have to kind of check out then, because I do love those grid-based tactical strategy games. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and with the delay of Advance Wars, who knows when that'll come out? I think it was pretty much ready to go, but I think they're trying to be sensitive with world wars going on and stuff like that.
It may be. That's very possible. Yeah. The last I heard, it was basically done.
Yeah.
So it seems reasonable that they're delaying it out of a sensitivity to the fact that there actually is a war going on right now.
Yeah. So.
But yeah. Let's see where that looks kind of like Calamity's head right there.
Yeah, it kind of does. I mean, I still need to put a little more work into this, but yeah, I mean, I think we got. My main thing is I just wanted to kind of rotate the head around and just have us look at it, for fun. This is sort of it. I mean, like I said, I'll work on it a little bit more, and the shading's not right because it's all 3D, but I want to toon shade it eventually or flat shade it. But yeah, I'm just rotating around and kind of looking at it as I think about the shot that I'm currently working on, where she stands in the doorway and she looks this way, towards camera, almost like that, and then she looks back over that way. So I'm just kind of getting a feel for it. And who knows, maybe I'll actually render out a couple of stills from here and actually just superimpose that onto the shot, and then we'll use that for the head for that particular shot, because she's not talking or anything, and I don't need to set up a bunch of mouth charts or anything in 3D. So that might actually save some work. But anyways, yeah, but it was kind of a fun little experiment tonight to kind of poke around with this. So yeah. So
very
yeah,
cool.
We'll call that good. Maybe I might fine tune it for next week a little bit, or maybe I'll jump back into the Flash file and keep working from there.
Cool, very cool.
So yeah, that's what I got for today. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, now let's see. I'm sharing my screen. I'll stop share. Say hi to you again. Hello.
Hello. You're here.
Yes.
You are no longer a disembodied voice. Oh, and you're gone.
Oh, let's see. Live broadcast has stopped due to you. Okay, fine. And are you still here? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, your auto focus camera did this weird pan zoom on you. That was really strange. It was surprisingly dramatic. It was over here and then it was sort of.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm not sure about this whole center stage thing on these iPads and stuff. They're kind of weird. They kind of do their own thing. It's kind of sort of semi creepy and kind of cool all at the same time. It's okay. But yeah, yeah, we call it good for tonight, and then we'll resume next week.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. As always, you can find us on Patreon. Just type claimtojane.rocks into your browser, take you right to our Patreon site. Please consider joining us on this adventure to make this cartoon. You can also find us on Twitter. We do 3-tweet stories every week. They come out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so you can look forward to those every week. We're pretty good about it. Sometimes we miss, but generally speaking, we do one every week. And otherwise, yeah, just keep staying tuned. Keep watching us after the fact, because no one watches our thing live. In the meantime, stay safe out there, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night.
All right.